Hello there, I'm Kios Ronin Beatmaker, and welcome to Ronin Reviews. And on this episode, we're going to discuss Blue-Eyed Samurai, Episode 1. I have to admit, I am pretty disappointed in myself for sleeping on this show. I did not realize that this show was a hidden gem. Right now, in Western media, we're dealing with a crisis of narrative capabilities and executions. And when this show first came out, the trailer, I was piqued but apprehensive because lately we have been dealing with a lack of proper character stories, proper characters, male and female, but especially when it comes to female characters. There's this need to turn female characters down the path of the male hierarchy of characters. And whether you look at the sequel trilogy, you look at, I mean, the sequel trilogy is a perfect example of it. I mean, you have a lot of these female characters that are just not well written, and I mean, it's you look what's going on in the comic book industry. A lot of these female characters, where they're not written with any real struggle, and they're written as they're masculine characters, and it just doesn't work. And that was one issue that I was concerned with the Blue-Eyed Samurai. Is you got to be kidding me. You got this woman going around slicing and dicing male samurais, and it's a period piece, and it looks like it's trying to stick fairly accurate to the period and the history, which was evident as I was watching the show. So I was a little apprehensive about that because it's one thing when it's in comic books and when they have superpowers and all that kind of fun jazz. It's another when you're taking, like, it's kind of like the Charlie's Angels movie that they told all the men not to go see, and it bombed. And you have Christian Stewart, who's pretty much a twig, taking on these 6 foot tall 250-pound men. It's unrealistic. And most often the case when you do have fight scenes like that, there's no real creativity in having a smaller character take on a larger character. I mean, you see it even when it's with two male characters where one is larger than the other. Tony Jaa, in a lot of his movies, like the Protector, which is a great film, he fights various characters of different sizes. Same in his movie Ong Bak. And he's a smaller guy, but he uses his environment. He uses their own momentum, things like that. It's the ingenuity in crafting the strengths and weaknesses of characters. And when it comes to female characters, as of late, there's no crafting. There's just that they can do everything and anything. There's no struggle. There's no agency. And, it's become pretty tiresome, and I've lost interest in watching shows where, the main character is a female and she's this protagonist that's just, impeccable. and then all the male characters around her are imbeciles and dimwits and what have you. So I've lost interest in that. But this show completely disregards all of that. I have to admit, I was really impressed. The story really grabs you in. The animation is fantastic. I've always been a little apprehensive of this style of animation, but it fits and it works with this show. I think because I've seen other shows with this style of animation, and I've often felt that the animation doesn't fit the story or the world. And that's why I've often kind of been put off by this type of animation style. I'm not, it's like this 3D animation style with what also looks a little bit of actual hand drawn stuff. So it seems to be of a combination. I could be wrong. To be completely honest with you, I could be wrong. So don't quote me on that. But I have to admit, I really, really enjoyed this animation. It works. It actually really works. It fits. And I think a lot of that for me is the story. The story is really good. You're not feeling like you're not dragged along. That's one thing that I was really impressed with. The attention to the time period is really good. If you've seen the show Shogun on Hulu, then you'll understand and appreciate that this show does a really good job of sticking to the culture and the social hierarchy and reality of that time period. They do it really good at the beginning, saying, "Hey, you know, at this point, Japan has closed its borders. It is a complete xenophobic state." And I forgot how many white men there were that left or in Japan at that time. I don't remember. Um, but they do a really good job of grasping that. And the character, she's good. I have to admit, she's really really good. I like her. I like her a lot. Even when she's pretentious and arrogant, I like it because it fits. The way she carries herself, the way she speaks, it fits. They do a really good job of making a character that fits, that you can actually resonate with. And I have to admit that's something that I was actually really didn't think they were going to do. I had my expectations were this show for this show were very 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 below. I really was expecting to not enjoy the show, but I have to admit it's a damn good show. And the voice actress does a phenomenal job. She fits the animation, she fits the character. The mannerisms are really well done, especially with the animation. They really catch the mannerisms of all the characters, even the side characters and the background characters. Really, really well done. Everyone has a story, and it fits, and it adds and complements her story very, very well. So that's another thing that I really like that they do a good job of is using the environment to add in telling the story and its character itself. That's a lot. We don't get that a lot anymore in our films and TV shows. And Dune is a phenomenal job of using the landscape and the environment as a character. Recently, I saw Monkey Man. Catch out my review for Monkey Man and Dune. They both do a great job of using the environment to as a character, and this show does a great job of doing that. The fight scene with her, great, loved it. I was very impressed, very surprised, and at this point, because I want to delve into some spoiler stuff, uh, we are about to hit the 10-minute mark. Once I hit 10 minutes, we're going to get into spoilers. Alrighty. Spoiler warning for everyone up ahead. Three, two, one. Okay. As I was saying about the fight scene. All right. So in the story, at that point, Blue Eyed, she's searching for the this clan leader, because she was able to track down this trafficker. And that fight scene was fire. Um, the way she sliced the gun and the man's fingers and then went back for more, very well done. They and I'm gonna have to talk about leading up to this epic fight at the dojo. Um, you right off the bat, you're introduced her as a child, and I'll be honest with you, I thought she was a hermaphrodite, but they confirm that she's definitely a female. Uh, um, there's a scene where, like, this meteorite crashes to on this cliff place where she's about to almost get murdered, and by these local boys. This blind swordsman, blacksmith for swords, he comes by, picks up the rock. She helps him, and he, kind of, I wouldn't say begrudgingly, takes her under his wing. And, she begins to learn the trade, and then she begins training. And, he kind of questions it, and he tells her, yeah, you can train, but at night. So she starts training, and, she's watching all these various samurais that come to this swords crafter to create their swords. And she's watching all these various styles. And at one point, she takes all these metal, um, I would say like poles, little, like small little poles, and she makes ankle and wrist weights. And she puts those on, and she's training with them. And I'm like, okay, she's smart, she's adapting. And you realize, like, the drive that she has. And it's even beautiful when she leaves to go on her quest for revenge, after explaining why she wants to become a great swordsman when she was younger. In that scene, when he tells her that, yeah, you can train. um she's like, I have another confession to tell you. And he's like, I don't need any more. And he's like, you came to me as a young boy, you will leave to me as a man. Implying that he knew that she was a woman, because there's, at one point, she's like, but I've tainted your swords. And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. To me, you were a boy, and you always will be. So it was a beautiful sentiment there. And she leaves, and eventually he's like, take a blade. And she's like, I already have one, and it's the meteorite. So I'm speculating that they finally cracked the meteorite and turned it into a sword, and she chose that sword, because he's like, take any sword you want. And I really liked that. I thought that was really well done. And then, you end up meeting, like, her companion, who's this no hand, like, cheery, chubby little guy, or tall, cheerful, chubby guy with no arm, with no hands, who's like, the an innkeeper's son. And, like, I'm thinking to myself, oh god, this is gonna be stupid and ridiculous. But you know what? He actually kind of grows on you, because there's a scene where he keeps on following her, and she's at a brothel looking for the dojo, and she sees No Hands, and he, like, destroyed this puppeteer's stage for his car, and she's like, "Hey, how many for 3 nights?" To the prostitutes, and the prostitute, she paid 3 nights for no hands to get out of her hairs with prostitutes, these two girls, and they show you. I mean, they don't show you the sex, but like he calls titties peaches, which is the most hilarious thing ever. Very funny. Really enjoyed it. So this is not a show for kids at all. Do not watch this with any children. Uh, yeah, not for children. But back in the day when we were kids, we watched this kind of anime and it was no biggie. But this is a different time now, so yeah, be mindful. Really great. The dojo scene is incredible. Um, Very intelligent, very smart. The fight scene is wonderful. And here's what's really interesting, right? So as I'm watching the fight scene, I'm thinking about her, and the men that are attacking her, um, they are using brute force. They don't know that she's a woman. They're using brute force, and she's just easily using their momentum and their lack of um, discipline and ingenuity and skill. And you can see it. And she's just kicking ass. There's one point where she literally knocks a man's teeth out, and one of his teeth flies into a guy's eye. Crazy. Like that whole fight scene with the wooden swords is phenomenal. And then eventually the best student comes back. And what's interesting about the best student is you see the local princess and the fact that she convinced her father to have her get married to the best student at the local dojo, and then her and the blue-eyed samurai like lock eyes, and I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a problem, and I knew it. And then coincidentally, the top student comes back because one of the other head students was like, "Hey, you gotta get back here. We're getting our asses kicked." And he goes back and he just sees everyone just getting slaughtered. And then he takes her on and he just knocks her out, right? Not unconscious, but he just knocks her ass out. She gets up and she then takes off the ankle and wrist weights. And I was like, oh my God, this girl is just went Goku. She's like Goku over here. She's about to go almost. She's about to go Saiyan. And I knew right there and then I was like, as I was saying, I was analyzing the fight, and I was like, she's been training since she was a child, studying various swordsman styles. So that's why she's talking crap to the dojo, because like, I've trained in your style. It's crap. I've trained in every style. I know what no style is the best style. That's something that a master kung fu guy would say, or swordsman would say. No style is good style. And she takes off the ankle and wrist weights, and I knew right there and then, okay, speed. She's about to unleash. And that's one thing that they did really well in this show, is that, and also her grip. You gotta think about it. Like, she doesn't have regular hands. She has blacksmith's hands. They're tough. They're coarse. They have strength. She has, finger strength. And so you gotta think about the way that she's built. She's built like a blacksmith. She's built with a more rural physical strength. And if you've ever seen those videos of rural farm boys versus gym bros or gym girls, The rural boys always smoke them, and they're not even physically built that big. But it's the tone that they have, the physicality of their tone, of their strength, because it's more natural. I'm no biologist. I'm no physical therapy expert or any of that fun jazz, but I'm just going from my own observations and how the animators and the showrunner of this show and the writers knew that they couldn't show her being like, they had to explain why she's so good in a rational kind of realistic manner, and they did a phenomenal job doing that, because the moment she takes off those ankle weights and wrist weights, she flies. She's faster now. And the top student, he's still using grips, he's still using raw strength. And at that point he also realizes that it's the young child, the young blue-eyed girl. I don't know if they know that she's a girl. I still think that they are under the impression she's a boy. That's from what I'm interpreting. But she defeats him, and she slices off um his hair bun, and she cuts off a patch, so he's like bald on the top of his skull. And pretty much all the other students at the dojo, they pretty much turn their backs at him. So he's pretty much most likely going to get cast out of the dojo for embarrassing them, seeing as he's a top student, and this unknown swordsman comes into the dojo, pretty much destroys half of the men of the dojo, all to find out where the headmaster's brother is. So really, really well done. And even after the fight, she's tending to her wound. She's at a hot spring, and No Hands finds her, and she's butt ass naked, holding her sword up, and with a nice little fur patch at the bottom. And he looks at her titties, and he's like, "Peaches," and then it cuts, which I thought was really funny. But you see her body, and you're like, "Oh, okay, she's physically toned. She has that raw rural strength, as I was talking about." And just also the fact that she's, by watching and constantly training on all these varying different styles and learning some of their secret techniques, she's able to hold her own in a sword fight. Because sword fights, it's not always all about raw strength. It's about technique, and it's about seeing your opponent. And they do a wonderful fight scene where she's having the battle within her mind and the various techniques on how to fight. So they really do capture the essence of that fighter spirit, that fighter mentality, that fighter atmosphere and ethos. So I am very impressed with the. I'm very impressed with the story. Very impressed with the animation. I'm very happy to hear that the show has a season 2 coming. So I'm like, I recommend it for everyone. Check it out. It's 8 episodes. I'm gonna probably peep another episode this week and give you guys another review either this week or over the weekend. But honestly, do not sleep on this show like I did. Make sure you get out there and watch it. It's a really fun show, great writing, respects the culture, respects the history, and respects, the narrative, respects character-driven stories, respects telling a good story. So I highly recommend. Check out the Blue-Eyed Samurai. Check out episode 1 at least. It's an hour long. It's a great, solid introduction. So don't sleep on it like I did. It's really good. And that's about it. What else we got coming up? I forget. I don't know what I got coming up. I totally forgot. I totally spaced out on that. You'll just keep an eye out. Keep your notification bell on. If you made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment with your thoughts below. If you saw the episode, let me know what you think. What are your thoughts, feelings, speculations? Make sure to put a spoiler if you're gonna talk about anything spoilerific. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.